Howdy everyone, my name is Austin Soares, and welcome to the first ever episode of Movies on the Menu, the quasi reboot, if you will, of my previous show, Storytime Reviews. Now, as you know, I'm your host, Austin Soares, Commonwealth Century on Instagram. So, a brief little explanation. I wanted to basically transition to proper movie reviews on YouTube, TikTok, that sort of thing. I kept losing my stories on Instagram, and I really want to preserve that. So I figured this would be the next logical step. It worked for the Angry Video Game Nerd, the Nostalgia Critic. The Angry Video Game Nerd, the Nostalgia Critic. Why can't it work for me? Why can't it work for the normal guy? Well, okay, if I'm normal, then basically I dread to know what weird is. By the way, sorry if I sound stammery or anything, but I just saw the subject of tonight's review, and let me just put this in perspective so you'll understand, ladies and gentlemen, and my non-binary pals. So ladies, gentlemen, and kind folk, for all you guys, just let me put this in perspective for you. I'm a guy who has been watching horror movies, actual scary movies, since as far back as I know, age 11. I didn't really get into the slashers, so I didn't really know them because I was too scared. So what I did, I started out with the 1950s B movies. I started out with movies like The Fly, The Thing, not the 80s remake, the original 50s version, though I did see the 80s remake first. And tonight's picture managed to scare me good, and you're about to see proof of that. Tonight's review is of Late Night with the Devil, the newest show that basically played over at the... Sorry, I thought this was turned around. At the Palladium, at my local theater. Yeah, get ready. How effective was this movie at scaring me? Well, one, I'm stuttering. Two, my hands are actually shaking, and my legs are shaking as well. And also, I'm trying my first ever bottle of Blue Moon. To put that in perspective, I'm 24. I'm going to be 25 in a month. And basically, I already found out my alcohol preference. Largely ciders, with bits of rum, whiskey, mainly mixed in with soft drinks so my body can digest it much more properly. And here, for tonight's, menu, or food on the menu to go along with our movie, a custom-made hamburger with some onion rings, gorgeous onion rings. I'm currently eating at Porterhouse, one of the best burger joints in High Point. Actually one of my favorite places to be. Here we have basically garlic mayo, lettuce, grilled onions, ketchup and honey mustard, and if I recall, some bacon. So what did I think of the movie? So, my audience, how scary was this movie? Very. What did I think of it? This was great. Stephen King said it was basically like a thorough way to examine the price of fame and success. I think it was him. My mind's currently a blank. I'm pretty sure I'll talk more about my inconsistencies and everything at a later date, because I'm still kind of frazzled. So, this movie stars Dave Dashiell, basically the polka dot man from James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, the superior version of that movie. And so basically, it follows an infamous broadcast from the 1970s, 1977 Halloween night, the unreleased, recently discovered master tape of Night Owls with Jack Delroy. Basically, Jack Delroy's your average all-American, late night show host, And so, for his Halloween Spectacular, in order to compete with higher ratings, he's decided to basically do something really spooky, for lack of a better word, for his Halloween special. And so what would that be? Well, he basically has a psychic, on his show, a parapsychologist, a former magician / hypnotist, and a little girl who's basically the last survivor of a demon cult that was basically being bred for sacrifices. So, a wholesome family fun show. Not. Basically, so where do I even begin with this movie? First off, I've been actually looking forward to this movie ever since I saw the trailer on YouTube. I think it was late one night. I think it was a month ago, or a few weeks ago. I received time differently. Oh wait, I'm so sorry, guys. I forgot to mention what the show's about. Not the show in the movie, but the show Movies on the Menu. Basically, it's a hybridization between traditional movie reviews, reactions, and mukbangs. Now, no, I'm not chasing any coattails, especially those of Mikado Avocado. I was more attracted to the concept by, as a social device. Like, made for people who have friends but they can't see them, or people who may not have any friends. It's like sitting with a person across one of your friends who saw some weird movie that they really want to discuss with you over like Sunday brunch or maybe Saturday night dinner with the boys. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now. And that really struck a chord with me because I believe a lot of people nowadays should have some friends. I have my job and everything. Like I have my job responsibilities, and I don't really have time to hang out with people. And it gets pretty lonely, not gonna lie. But hey, I'm doing a lot better now. I'm slowly working my way to becoming an actual fully functional adult than basically someone trapped inside of an adult costume. A little bit of humor to try and relax my nerves. Can you tell I've never done anything like this before? It's fairly obvious. But anyway, so was the movie effective or scary? Yeah, can you not tell it was effective or scary? I'm still shaking, I'm nervous. Like, I can't tell if it's because of the nervousness of me being on camera and doing I'd say my second or third, I've lost, count, they usually pop up sporadically sometimes, my YouTube video, the fact that I suffer from anxiety, and also the fact this movie actually genuinely managed to scare me, which is an absolute rarity. Oh. Yeah. This is Blue Moon. This is what I'm drinking. Oh, sweet brown medicine. Please steady my nerves. So let's talk about... I figured out where to talk about with this movie. How about the technical side? So, in-universe, in a meta perspective, this is basically a documentary, found footage kind of thing. Now, the movie in question takes place in the year 1977, specifically Halloween night. The broadcast of Shock Nation. I remember actually making pot shots, at that tagline at work. With me being a historian and media buff, I was actually, basically going like, oh, can this really top the War of the Worlds broadcast in 1938 by the late, great, legendary Orson Welles? With what I've seen tonight, I'm fully prepared to eat my words like I'm eating this delicious, lovely burger. Sorry about that, I had to go get some napkins. But yeah, basically the documentary aspect, especially in the first opening scenes, like the montage, was like something straight out of like a 1970s style documentary, or like, one of those documentaries that's been used by like religious cults or like conservative Christian normies to like shock or frighten, but still drew me an intrigue. In fact, I remember growing up watching documentaries about subjects that took place in the 70s, like Star Wars: The Philosophy. For those of you who grew up watching documentaries on the History Channel before it became about fishing and was basically a glorified reality show channel, but for like rugged outdoorsmen, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Caught that every single time, it came on. But anyway, the documentary. It's basically presenting the universe as a documentary combined with the whole found footage. Like, the main plot device is that it's the found master tape, released to the masses, only aired once. Essentially, we have a Tim Burton's Hansel and Gretel situation, except far more disturbing, far more graphic, and far more nightmarish compared to what was aired back in the 80s. And also, because, time, a few years earlier. So, our protagonist, Mr. Delroy, is basically a struggling TV show man, and it's basically desperate for ratings. Well, According to that quote about the price of success, how far are you willing to go for it, Mr. Dalroy? And he finds out the hard way. The really, 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 really hard way. Especially when we meddle with things that mortals aren't meant to understand. Oh. Yeah. I remember actually seeing the trailer and was actually intrigued and also made uncomfortable. And, actually kind of scared of what I was seeing. And let me tell you, that's not easy. Now, as for the technical aspects, it looks straight out of the 70s. I mean, you often hear people compare, the Blair Witch as oh, it's scary because it's so realistic. But, it's realistic, but at the same time, it doesn't really scratch that itch, if that makes any sense. Late Night with the Devil, however, I grew up watching, television from the 70s and 80s and before my time. You have my mother to thank for that. She had always shown me, stuff from her time period, her generation, when she was a little girl. Oh, hell, even before she was even born, my great-grandmother who raised her actually showed her a lot of the classics and everything, and so it kind of passed on, as many good things in classics often do. And I can tell from the set design to the infomercials to everything, it looks straight out of the 70s. In fact, I actually have to tell myself mentally, it's not real, it's a movie, it's not real, it's a movie. I mean that as a compliment. This genuinely was scary. This was oh my goodness, my heart was thumping, I felt a pit in my stomach, my hands and legs were shaking as I exit the theater, my breathing was starting to hitch. I have asthma, and considering the fact that I have anxiety issues, I really can imagine how struggle it was to keep myself quiet, not for talking and moving, because I was genuinely starting to hyperventilate. Also not help with the fact that I have religious trauma. So, the whole Demon Among Us rhetoric that was very popular in the zeitgeist of the late 70s, where the movie takes place, really, really got to me. And not because of the whole, possession and everything, but also the fact that, there were often, people of a religious bent who tried to use that as a fear tactic to indoctrinate me personally. I don't mean to get personal, but concerning the subject matter of this movie and my history, well, resistance is futile. The camera ratio and the effects were spot on. It does actually have that found master tape kind of feel, a found footage feel, but it feels legit. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel anything. Best onion rings in town, by the way. Crispy, crunchy, soft, holy on the inside. Perfect. But anyway, that was everything was filmed in the most believable aspect ratios. The effects were accurate. There are a few black and white segments. That's basically from the behind the scenes footage. The ending, I don't want to give away, but they have footage that, shouldn't never be on television. I don't mean from a censorship standpoint. I mean how is this even physically remotely plausible? Now, I don't want to give it away. I refuse to give it away. You have to see this for yourself. I just want to say, Mr. David's performance as Jack Delroy was very believable. I can buy this a good man at heart, who's being pushed to do things he probably wouldn't, under any other circumstance, he probably wouldn't do. And you do feel for the guy. Even after hearing his, tragic backstory, you do honestly feel for him. And I'm not giving away anything like that. The trailer did it for me. Trailer, teaser, you get the idea. And all the characters were actually believable. These actually felt like real-life people who are going through such a morbid ordeal. that magician character. I'm sorry, I kind of forgot these people's names, but I don't want to stop recording. The one who hypnotizes one of the members of the talk show, I've seen the trailer, gave like an enjoyable, slimy performance. You know, I was, and then you had like gave an enjoyable, slimy performance, and the psychic, the medium, the actor who played him was great as well, and also, the little girl who played Lily, she did a phenomenal job portraying the character as both, like, when she's Lily, as with all of her, but when she's possessed, like, pants-crappingly terrifying. Like, oh my god. Like, I have to do a confession. I haven't seen The Exorcist yet, because, again, dealing with, like, religious trauma and mental health issues, I was tempted to do it, but at the same time, I kind of held off till this, to see, like, how a movie emulating the type of scares in the 1970s versus the movie that actually pulled it off, compare and contrast. Dr. June, and the actress playing Dr. June Ross Mitchell, I could actually buy her performance as a desperate woman trying to basically do the right thing and everything, and my heart went out to those characters, because, I didn't want anything bad to happen to them. I wanted the show to go smoothly and for everyone to make it home safe. With this being a horror movie involving demonic possession on a live broadcast, and it was introduced as, the event that shocked the nation, well, I'll leave it up to your imagination for now. Now, how scary was this movie? For me personally, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but I'm going to say it anyway. I've been watching horror movies literally since I was 10 or 11 years old. At this point, I've grown so desensitized that it rarely takes anything to shock me. If I know it's a movie, if I know it's fiction, it's going to be more of an uphill battle to scare me, let alone shock me. But this did. And oh my goodness. I currently have my beer right here. I actually chose this place. I actually didn't choose this place. And I did, but I talked to my coworker earlier this morning going, hey, need your opinion. Should I get wings or burgers afterwards? She recommended burgers. That lady, my coworker, you lady are a trooper. Thank you. Because I desperately need this, because my nerves are powdered, they're shot. Oh my lord. But anyway, the scares were efficient, and the way it did its horror was, good. Was excellent, actually. It was fairly subtle. It was fairly unnerving to watch. Like, everything just kept building. You see, bad horror tends to basically throw everything at the screen, like it's a Michael Bay movie that's been eating too much marinara sauce on its spaghetti. But no, everything escalates here. You go from basically the psychic having what seems to be a nervous breakdown to the ending or the climax, and you're left just wondering what is going on. How could anyone allow this to happen? Everything that can go wrong in this movie actually went wrong. But I mean in the best way possible in terms of the story. Honestly, I'm kind of curious what happened to anyone in the universe. I'm curious what happened to anyone after that broadcast, or if they're even doing a sequel. How are they going to top that? The best thing I can imagine them doing is a mini episode documentary, like a Netflix true crime kind of style. Also, the way it portrays the 1970s in general. Well, as you know, I've never been to the 1970s. I haven't even existed at that point. My birth date is April 28th, 1998. However, my mom was born on November 26, 1970. Also, for all you astrology people out there, my mom's a Sagittarius. I'm a Sagittarius? I'm a Taurus. So, there's that. But either way, she basically said, the set design, after I described it to her, was, dead on to what was basically being portrayed in actual 70s late shows. So that meant that they basically did their homework. In fact, the filmmakers even actually had people who worked on talk shows actually, film, who actually have experience filming these types of things. Not the supernatural horrors going on, I mean, a regular talk show, where people sit down on a live studio audience and talk about stuff. Anything, really. Sports, religion, football. That is a sport. My brain's a little bit scrambled and fried. Please forgive me. So from all these long takes and everything. And those black and white scenes in the trailer is supposed to be behind the scenes footage, which I found to be really clever, adding a cinematic edge and flair without being too distracting. Like I said, the characters were great. The magician character is delightfully slimy, delightfully patronizing, because he's a skeptic. He's basically a modern day Harry Houdini, who himself was a magician, but also a skeptic, who wanted to prove supernatural stuff was just all in our imagination. The character came across as very patronizing and very I'll prove this. So when supernatural stuff starts going down, it was kind of satisfying, if not scary, to watch. Dr. Mitchell and her patient Lily honestly gave some of those heartfelt performances pretty much. I really felt for these two. I wanted to get through what was going on, and considering her origin story, her backstory in the movie, it was hard, not to feel bad, because normally in most horror movies, you don't really feel for anything too much of the characters, but here I felt with sympathy and compassion, and hoping these characters got at least some form of a happy ending. I'm just gonna say right now, don't get too attached. And for our main star, Jack Delroy, I really felt bad for. I wanted him to get good ratings. I wanted him to succeed in his goal, have his Halloween spectacular just, work and gain an audience and everything. But see, I feel bad for him, but at the same time, how do I put this? It's you brought this upon yourself, but it's think of it like this. It's why? Think of it like this. Under normal circumstances, a person in his situation doing a dumb thing, knowing it's dumb, would be why would you do that, you idiot? But here, in this case, it's oh no, I knew something bad was going to happen, but that doesn't make it hurt any less. Yeah. For those of you Trash Taste fans, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway. And then he had his assistant, which, I forget his name. But his announcer, his assistant, who I felt really bad for. First off, he's basically the butt of every joke on the show in universe. I know I don't have to clarify it, but you'll not believe how many people tend to confuse what I'm actually saying or what I always the intent of what I'm saying. But I felt bad for him. He was actually the most human. He had the most human, most genuine reaction. He was scared, actually scared. I was yeah, I'm with this guy. I'd be freaking out too. I'd be running for the exit. Apparently he was actually really freaking. I mean, the character in universe, the assistant in universe, was freaked out. The producer didn't really care. It's get this on the air, which unfortunately is typical of most producer types. Those producer types, ones who will basically violate any Geneva Convention, any code they can get away with, just to get some sick views. But it was worth it. The ending was haunting. The ending was confusing. In fact, dare I say it, this is basically, analog horror done correctly, done right, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if I should count that because it's not on YouTube, it's not on the internet, but this honestly feels like what analog horror could have been if it's shown on the big screen. You know, and it works. The effects were top notch, some of them you can't tell it's fake, but honestly, you're so engrossed in the story and the scares and the ideas and concepts behind them, you barely know. So your mind barely registers. Do I have any problems with the movie? Not really. No, not really. I do not have any... I'm hard-pressed. This feels accurate. In fact, honestly, I kind of low-key headcanon that this takes place in the same universe as the WNUF Halloween special. Or if I could, I would actually kind of make it, But either way, this was effective. Another thing about the technical aspects that I want to talk about, now that I'm finally calming down and my blood pressure is starting to lower, because it was, the anxiety made it spike and made it high, the technical artifacts and glitches are actually kind of genuine, which would make sense considering the fact that, 1970s equipment versus modern equipment, who wins in a recording fight? And also the fact that, demonic paranormal activity happening with analog recording equipment. Expect things to go wrong. Very, 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 very wrong. And honestly, it all felt realistic. It all felt like it actually happened, which was the point of the movie. The people, like I said, the people behind this movie who made this possible did their homework. They actually, I don't know if they watched talk shows or if they, knew about them, but yeah. It got to the point where I literally had to sit there, let me paint a picture for you. I was in the theater, I was basically huffing and puffing, not because I was angry, but because I was genuinely terrified. I was freaking out, you have no idea. And I was just, how to go, I was saying this in my head. It's just a movie, 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 it's not real, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real. I haven't really had that reaction to horror movies since I was a little kid. Essentially I regressed from my adult self to my 11-year-old self trying out horror movies for the first time. You have to try to get me to do that. At least try. Really hard. The same level of effort you put in trying to control the weather with your mind. Like Storm from the X-Men. But in terms of themes, themes are self-explanatory. The price of success, how far you're willing to go, how far you're willing to pay, to get that forbidden fruit, if you will. And let me tell you, this actually does paint, one heck of a cautionary tale. Wow. If you're entering the film industry, how I plan to, because when I grow up, I'm going to be 25 in a month, but apparently I can still say that until I'm 30. But either way, when I grow up and I get into the film industry, I feel it should be basic viewing for anyone pursuing, fame or fortune, Because even though a lot of the events are, fictional, I feel like the message behind them still holds up. What's more important, your morals or fame? Your beliefs or money? How far are you willing to go? What price is your soul? You don't need all these, occult rituals or demons or anything. If Quiet on the Set, the recent Netflix documentary, tells anything, vices and corrupt producers and everything are basically the devils in disguise. We don't really need, all these horrible, demons or ghouls. Think less of a loincloth made from human skin and more like a standard suit necktie, expecting to sign on the dotted line without knowing what you're getting yourself into. And the ending left many people in the theater confused and left me just too stunned to speak. I'll just say this: you did, Jackie boy. You've gotten famous. Hope it was worth it, pal. So, with all that said, how would I rate, Late Night with the Devil? This is gonna sound pathetic, and I fully admit it, but I'd give this a 10 out of 10. I have very little in the way of problems with it. The pacing was good. It felt more like a reconstruction and documentary than it was found footage, but it technically is. And I have very little in the way of complaints. Minor nitpicks, some of the gore effects kind of look a little cheesy, like something out of Shudder. but it was still good and I was still engrossed in the story. The characters were three-dimensional, were rich, and I could actually feel myself feeling sorry for them or feeling concerned. And the climax, the ending, and the build-up to it. Chef's kiss, like this burger. It's a really good burger, and excellent onion rings. So, yeah, I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. You know, hope to see you next time. The next review after this will be Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2. Also, to Mr. Pooh Bear of the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey Twisted Pooniverse. Get ready for round 2. I haven't forgotten what you've done to me Valentine's Day 2023. You're not going to waste my Valentine's Day this time. Also, for those of you wondering, I spent Valentine's Day watching Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 1, and it was so terrible I wasted it. For those of you who know and stuck around with me the longest, I love all of you, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, ciao. Also, on an additional note I forgot to mention, every time Jack is basically, Jack is about to do something else, you're just begging, pleading for him to stop. Until it gets too late. Future Austin here, by the way. You can tell I haven't really done this before. But it's called episode 1/the pilot for a reason.